Şeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina ve Habibina ve tabi kulubina ve şefi dunubina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve ashabihi ve etba'ihi ve ihvanihi minel enbiya vel mursel ecma'in. Radiyallahu anna ve ankum ve an kâfetil müminin. Rabbena atina min ledunke rahmeten ve hey lana min emrina raşada. Let's start by reciting three Ikhlas and Fatiha for the souls of those who died in the earthquake in Turkey, and also for the souls of all other Muslims who passed away before us. May Allah accept them all as shuhada, because there is a hadith giving good tidings that who die from earthquake, they will be rewarded as shaheed. They are called al-shaheed al-hukmi. There is a shaheed al-haqiqi who dies in a war, and then there is a shaheed al-haqiqi. They are considered also at the same level. They are a shaheed al-hukmi, like a woman dying while giving birth, and somebody dying from an illness, internal illness, somebody dying from earthquake, etc. These are considered a shaheed al-hukmi. May Allah accept them like this, and may Allah heal the deep wounds of the community and the families, whose members passed away. Now we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala, reading the rules of Futuwwa. One of the rules is as follows: من الفتوة ألا يقعد العبد عن الكسب. One of the rules of Futuwwa is that one should make his own living. One should not be dependent on others. So everyone must gain his or her own living rather than being dependent on other people. Sayyidina Omar radiallahu anhu once came to the masjid. He saw some people. They said, "How do you get your sustenance? How do you get your livelihood?" They said, "Nahnu al-mutawakkilun." And he said, "La antum mutaakkilun." Yani, you are exploiting other people. You are exploiting other people. You are not mutawakkil. Yani, al-mutawakkil is the one who goes, works, runs after his livelihood, gets tired, sweats. That's mutawakkil, not the one who's sitting, in the masjid and praying and waiting for other people to come and help him. On another occasion, again, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, asked somebody in the masjid. He said, "I see you all the time in the masjid praying. How do you get your livelihood?" He said, "I have a brother. We made a division of labor. He works and pays for my expense as well, and I make prayer here all the time." And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh said, "He is better than you." The one who works, to gain his living is better than you. So it's not acceptable for someone who adopts the Futuwwa morality to sit down and to be burdened on other people. Instead, he should take the burden of others. So being dependent on other people is not something acceptable for people of Futuwwa. ومن الفتوة تصحيح اعتقاده فيما بينه وبين ربه فيما لزم من الأحوال والآداب. So one of the rules of Futuwwa is keep rectifying, keep improving your aqidah, your ahwal, your adab. So you should never be satisfied with your knowledge about your aqidah, with your ahwal, and with your adab. Always make an effort to improve, your knowledge about your aqidah, your ahwal, your spirituality, and your adab, your good manners, your etiquette. Keep always keep always making an effort, to improve your aqidah. How can you improve your aqidah? It's improving al-yaqeen fil aqidah, certainty of faith. Because there is no other way to improve. But usually aqidah is based on ilm al-yaqeen. Ilm al-yaqeen based on rational evidence, rational thinking. So how can you improve this to haqq al-yaqeen? So there are levels of certainty. The lowest level of certainty is ilm al-yaqeen, based on rational conviction that you believe in something. Okay? Then a higher level of this is ayn al-yaqeen, based on seeing something, witnessing it. This is called ayn al-yaqeen. And then the highest level is haqq al-yaqeen. For instance, like you hear that there is a city called Doha, and you read it in the books, and then you are convinced that this is true. But then you come with airplane, you see Doha from above. This is ayn al-yaqeen. You witness it. Then you land in Doha, you walk in the streets of Doha, then this is haqq al-yaqeen. So, ilm al-yaqeen may be shaken by counter arguments. So some people may say, no, there is no such city, the map is wrong, or the books are writing wrong. But like after you go to Doha, walk in the streets of Doha, no one can shake this kind of faith, right? This kind of conviction. Same thing with our iman. Our iman is based on adillah, the rational evidence. Actually, iman which is not based on any evidence is not acceptable. This is called taqlid. So iman because your family believes so, or this is the culture of your country, this is what society approves. This is not acceptable, as iman. This is called iman taqlidi. It's blind confirmation, blind conformism. This is not acceptable as iman. So everyone must have some kind of evidence, some kind of dalil for the iman. Like, why are you Muslim? Okay, this is the reason why I am Muslim. Why do you believe in Allah Ta'ala? This is the reason why I believe in Allah Ta'ala. Everyone must have reason, but reasons may be different from each other because the plausibility structure psychologically is very different. People get convinced for different reasons. So this is taqlid. So the taqlidi iman is not acceptable by majority of our scholars. But some scholars say it's okay, to have iman taqlidi. But everyone must have tahqiq. And tahqiq means your iman must be based on some kind of evidence that's convincing to you. That evidence may not be convincing to other people, but if it's convincing to you, alhamdulillah, that's iman tahqiqi, because it's based on ilm al-yaqeen. Ilm al-yaqeen. But you need to improve this to ayn al-yaqeen and to haqq al-yaqeen. And when we say, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, that I give my testimony, as if I have seen. As if I have seen Allah Ta'ala. So that's certain, the certainty. We say certainty, we ashhadu to indicate the certainty. That this is how certain my iman is. As though I have seen Allah Ta'ala. I give my testimony. But haqq al-yaqeen is experiencing existence of Allah Ta'ala, experiencing the akhirah in such a way that nothing can shake it. I have a friend in America. These are like a couple. They were like medical doctors. They traveled to a Muslim country, and they became Muslims in that country. I asked them, why did you become Muslim? He said, because I saw the iman, the faith of Muslims so strong, as if they went to Akhirah and came back. As if they have seen paradise and came back. They are so strong. And same with Allah, as if they have seen Allah Ta'ala. He said, even our priests, clergy, they have doubts about God. and the hereafter. But like Muslims, they have such a strong faith in the hereafter, in God. He said, this is what struck me, and then I accepted Islam. So this is haqq al-yaqeen. Haqq al-yaqeen. So improve your faith. That means improve certainty of your faith. And then improve your ahwal. Ahwal means spiritual states of your heart. Make yourself like more generous, increase your ikhlas, increase your humility, the states of your heart. And also adab, good manners, increase your kindness, increase your compassion, increase your futuwwa towards other people. So never be satisfied with your state, with your iman, and with your adab. Always there is a room to improve that. So this continuous progress, continuous development is part of the futuwwa. But usually this progress and improvement today is emphasized professionally, like a professional development programs. But here, improve your humanity, improve your iman, improve your akhlaq, improve your ahwal, and improve your adab, your morality. So this aspect is neglected. Of course, you have to improve yourself in your profession, but at the same time, don't neglect improving your ahwal, your adab, your akhlaq, inshallah ta'ala. And Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, rahimahullah, brings a dalil for this. He says, سمعت أبا بكر الرازي, says, I heard from Abu Bakr al-Razi, يقول سمعت خير النساج, يقول سمعت أبا حمزة يقول إني okay, so Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami heard from his teacher Abu Bakr al-Razi, who heard from Khayr al-Nassaj, who heard from Abu Hamza. Abu Hamza said, إني لأستحي من الله أن أدخل البادية وأنا شبعان وقد أعتقد التوكل لألا يكون شبعي زاد أتزوده. So he said, I feel embarrassed from Allah Ta'ala if I go traveling in the desert and my stomach is full, that I rely on the fullness of my stomach, not to like get hungry, but not on Allah Ta'ala. If I rely on the fullness of my stomach, but not on Allah Ta'ala, I feel embarrassed from Allah Ta'ala. Because not relying, not making tawakkul on Allah Ta'ala, but the fact that you fill your stomach with food, then you say, okay, I'm not going to get hungry because my stomach is full. So this is improvement, improvement. So making your complete reliance, complete dependence on Allah Ta'ala, not on other things. So he mentioned this as an example of how one can improve himself. وَمِنَ الْفُتُوَّةِ تَعْزِيمُ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ. Again, one of the rules of futuwwa is to venerate, is to respect the things Allah Ta'ala made sacred. Hurumatullah, like Baytul Haram means sacred house of Allah Ta'ala. There is a relationship between that meaning of haram and the unlawful. So Baytul Haram means untouchable, because it's haram to touch it. It's muqaddas, it's sacred. So venerating them, respecting them is very important. And he mentions an anecdote. سمعت محمد بن شاذان يقول سمعت علي بن موسى الطاهرني يقول so Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami heard from Muhammad bin Shazan, who related from Ali bin Musa al-Tahirni, that he said, وقع من عبد الله بن مروان فلسا في بئر قذرة. So Abdurrahman bin Marwan dropped a fals. Fals means kirsh, Yani penny, a penny. He dropped it in a well, but this well was dirty, a dirty well. فاكترى عليه ب13 دينارا. So he spent 13 gold money to get it out. حتى أخرجه. يعني to get it out from that dirty well. So 1 penny, he's spending 13 gold, to get it out. فقيل له في ذلك, and they asked him, why did you spend so much money, to spend only 1 penny? He said, كان عليه اسم الله مكتوب فاحترمته لذلك. Because he said, on this 1 penny, the name of Allah was written. Because of my respect, for the name of Allah Ta'ala, I wanted to get it out, spending all this money. Simply because the name of Allah was written there, and he was not happy that the name of Allah will be in this dirty well. So it's a good example of how one venerates, sacred things. This is the adab, al-adabu billah. Al-adabu billah. There are 2 types of adab. Al-adabu billah, adab with Allah, good manners, etiquette with Allah, and then al-adabu bi khalqillah, adab with the creation of Allah Ta'ala. So al-adabu billah, this vertical adab with our Creator, and al-adabu bi khalqillah, adab with the creation of Allah Ta'ala, is with everyone, with the other human beings, with animals, with angels. You can say, what's the adab with the angels? You know that around us there are always angels. So you have adab with them as well. And as Abdurrahman Sulaim mentioned in the beginning of the book, there's al-Futuwwa bil malaika bi kiraman katibin. The noble scripts who are writing your deeds. There's adab with them as well. So all your relations must be governed with adab. ومن الفتوة أن تعامل الناس على حسب ما تحب أن يعاملوك. So one of the rules of Futuwwa is that you treat people the way you want them to treat you. Treat others the way you want them to treat you. That's one of the rules of Futuwwa. Actually, this is the golden rule in ethics. It exists in almost all ethical systems. This treat others the way you want them to treat you. وهو ما روي أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and this is based on the following hadith which is reported from Rasulullah sallam. وأحب للناس ما تحب لنفسك تكن مؤمنا. وأحب للناس, love for people. ما تحب لنفسك, what you love for yourself. Desire for other people what you desire for yourself. Want for other people what you want for yourself. What's the outcome of it? تكن مؤمنا. If you do this, you become a true believer. If you do this, you become a good believer. Okay? So that's the outcome of it. But if you don't want for others what you want for yourself, this is egoism. This is selfishness. And selfishness and egoism is not a character of a believer. A believer is someone who cares for others. So this is the quality, this is the character of a mu'min. And if you do this, that you want for others what you want for yourself, then you are a good believer. You are a true believer. You are not selfish. You have a good akhlaq. وفي حديث آخر, in another hadith, again Rasulullah ﷺ said, وآت للناس ما تحب أن يؤتى إليك. Give to people what you want them to give to you. Give to people what you want them to give to you. So again, this sympathy, this empathy, with other people. So you put yourself in their place. And then if you were in the place of that person, how you would like to be treated. Okay? So this empathy is very important to understand and appreciate other people's feelings. So this is a good way of measuring your manners, whether you are acting in a good way or a bad way. So سمعت أبا بكر الرازي يقول سمعت سعيد الصوفي يقول سمعت ابن يزدانيار وقال له رجل. So this is narrated from Abu Bakr al-Razi, who narrated from Sa'id al-Sufi, who narrated from Ibn Yazdanyar, who said, وَقَالَ لَهُ رَجُلٌ, somebody asked him, أَوْصِنِي, give me an advice. Give me an advice. So this is the tradition of previous generations. So even today, those old scholars, this is how they ask each other, awsini, awsini. Especially when they leave the majlis of the sohbet, they ask each other, awsini, give me an asiyat, give me an asiyat. Although they're big scholars, each one of them, but they still want nasiha, the tawsiyah, from the other side. So this person came to Ibn Yazdanyar and asked, give me an advice. But today, those arrogant people, they don't want to get any advice from anybody because they assume they know everything. They don't need the advice of anyone. But asking advice of another one, this is a sign of humility. And also it's a sign of acknowledging that you have shortcomings. Also, this is a sign of desire that you want to improve yourself by getting advice from other people. So, فقال اقضي ما للناس حسب ما تقضي لهم من نفسك. Judge other people the way you judge yourself. We always make judgments about other people. The way, judge with them the way you judge yourself. Okay? So when you make a mistake, how do you judge yourself? If the same mistake is done by other people, judge them the same way. Okay? So ask yourself, I could have been in his place, or I could have been in her place, doing the same mistake. How would I, judge myself? Okay? If you, when you judge yourself, you come up with pretext, with excuses, and you are very tolerant, so then be tolerant with the other people as well. Put yourself in their place. So this was another very good rule. Judge others the way you judge your own self. Your friends, your spouse, your children, your colleagues. So this is a very good rule, golden rule. And this brings justice and empathy with other people. Another rule of Futuwwa is that من الفتوة الهجرة إلى الله بالسر والقلب. Migration to Allah Ta'ala inside, an inner journey to Allah Ta'ala بالسر والقلب. الهجرة إلى الله. So isn't this shocking that how can one make an hijrah to Allah, al-hijrah to Allah. In the famous hadith about hijrah, إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل ما نوى فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. I used to understand this as فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِلَّهِ. This is how I understood. Because, but later I noticed, no, it is not lillah, it's ilah. Ilah, to Allah, not for the sake of Allah. Whoever makes his hijrah to Allah, and to his messenger. And I used to understand this as if it said, فَمَنْ كَانَ هِجْرَتُهُ لِلَّهِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ. Whoever made his hijrah for the sake of Allah, for the sake of his Prophet. So, I mean, but how can make hijrah to Allah? And this hijrah to Allah, he says, بِالسِّرِّ وَالْقَلْبِ, inside, not in space, not in geography. It's an internal hijrah. It's an internal hijrah to Allah Ta'ala. And also an internal hijrah to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So from this perspective, that means hijrah is for everybody. Hijrah does not refer to an historical event which took place centuries ago and now it's over. No such thing. Okay? So hijrah refers to something every Muslim is required to do. And hijrah to Allah. And Rasulullah sallam makes it clear. Al-muhajiru man hajara ma nahallahu anhu. Al-muhajiru man hajara ma nahallahu anhu. This is how he defines. He says, the muhajir, the immigrant, is the one who abandons everything that Allah Ta'ala prohibited and adopts everything Allah Ta'ala is pleased with. So that's the definition of muhajir. So from this perspective, hijrah does not refer to an historical event which took place in 622. So hijrah must take place in the life of everybody. So this is inner improvement. This is inner improvement. And there are mentions of it in the Quran. For instance, وَأَصْلُهُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And the origin or the foundation of this concept of al-hijra ilallah is in the Quran. فَآمَنَ لَهُ لُوطٌ وَقَالَ إِنِّي مُهَاجِرٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. And Lut alayhi salam, he believed in Allah Ta'ala and he said, إِنِّي مُهَاجِرٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. I am an immigrant to my Lord. I am immigrating to my Lord. Yes, see, this concept originates from the Quran. So what does it mean? It means, as mentioned by Rasulullah in the hadith, I am abandoning everything that's prohibited by Allah Ta'ala and start practicing everything that's pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. That's the meaning of al-hijrah. And it's a sunnah of Rasulullah that we should do it. So that means Lut alayhi salam did it, and every Muslim must do it. This is an inner journey, reforming inside of your inner self, this movement with your inner self. سمعت أبا الطيب الشيرازي يقول سمعت أبا بكر الطمستاني يقول من سحب منا الكتاب والسنة وعزف عن نفسه وعن الخلق والدنيا وهاجر إلى الله بسره وقلبه فيلزم الصدق في هجرته فقد بلغ المبلغ في الفتوة. So Abu Bakr al-Tamastani said, من سحب منا الكتاب والسنة, whoever befriended with the Quran and the Sunnah. Sahiba means becoming friends. Whoever became friends with the Quran and the Sunnah. So what it means, like you spend time with your friends, right? And you love them. So if you spend time with the Quran and with the Sunnah, and you love spending time with them, enjoying, spending time with them, that means you are friends of the Quran. You are friends of the Sunnah, because you always, want to be with them. You enjoy being them, and if you are separated, you miss them. So if you miss the Quran, if you miss the Sunnah, that means you are friends with them. Okay? Man sahiba minna al-kitaba wa sunnata, whoever befriends with the Quran and the Sunnah, wa azafa an nafsihi, and abandoned his ego, wa anil khalqi, and he detached himself from the whole creation, wa dunya, and also he abandoned attachment to the dunya, because this is tarkud dunya. Tarkud dunya is a concept. It means tarku mahabbati dunya, because tarkud dunya is haram, because Rasulullah did not abandon mundane life. He was very active in society. He was active politically. He was active economically, like he was a businessman, leader of the state, family, right? But he abandoned love of dunya, attachment to the dunya. That's the meaning of tarkud dunya. Tarkud dunya is an istilah, is a concept, and sometimes people misunderstand. They think, oh, Muslims are abandoning the dunya. No, Muslims never abandon dunya. Muslims abandon love of dunya, attachment to the dunya. Okay, so whoever leaves attachment, reliance, preoccupation with the dunya, وَهَاجَرَ إِلَى اللَّهِ, and makes an inner movement, inner journey to Allah Ta'ala, attaching himself to Allah Ta'ala and detaching himself from dunya. So a Muslim is the Muslim's relationship with the dunya may be called as disengaged involvement. Disengaged involvement. Like we are involved in dunya, but we are disengaged. حفظنا الله من حب الدنيا. We don't love, but we see dunya as an instrument, as a means, as a dunya mazra'atul akhirah. Dunya is like the land. We plant things so that we collect the fruits in the akhirah, in the hereafter. So the meaning of dunya is instrumental for us. And our goal is to make this hijrah to Allah Ta'ala, abandon all these false laws, abandon all these false addictions, abandon all these five false attachments, and move, make your heart turned continuously, ceaselessly, completely to Allah Ta'ala, and make gaining blessing of Allah Ta'ala the only goal of your life. That's al-hijra ilallah. فَيَلْزَمُ الصِّدْقَ, and he sticks to honesty, to sincerity. As-sidq. As-sidq means sincerity in faith. So he fi hijratihi, and he keeps his sidq, his sincerity in his hijrah to Allah Ta'ala. Okay? So this continuous hijrah, continuous improvement in his iman, in his akhlaq, in his ahwal, moving closer and closer to Allah Ta'ala. فَقَدْ بَلَغَ الْمَبْلَغَ فِي الْفُتُوَّةِ. That means he reached the highest level of futuwwa. Highest level of futuwwa is reached when you befriend yourself with the Sunnah and the Quran, and you abandon your egoism, and you detach yourself from the creation, and you detach yourself from the love of this dunya, and then you make this journey to Allah Ta'ala, then that means you reached the highest level of futuwwa. That's futuwwa. إلا أن ينقضه بالرجوع إلى شيء مما هاجر منه. But if he returns back to the things he abandoned, he left behind, that means he is breaking his hijrah. He is invalidating, he is nullifying his hijrah. Because so you abandoned some of the things that Allah Ta'ala prohibits. Now if you are going back to them, that means you are breaking your hijrah. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. And this is the famous hadith in Bukhari, the first hadith in Bukhari, that if the ultimate goal of the Muslim is to make this his inner journey to Allah Ta'ala, and this is part of the futuwwa. As I have said earlier, futuwwa is codification of the Sunnah. Codification of the Sunnah, taqneenu Sunnah. Codification of the Sunnah so that people can easily understand and practice. That's the purpose of it. And our ulama, wanted to teach Sunnah to everybody, even those who have no time, who have like very little time. So they made it easy for them to learn. Okay, do's and don'ts in 10 pages, finished. Because you don't want, you cannot expect everybody to become a scholar, read Bukhari, ومن الفتوة الصحبة مع الله أو مع رسول الله أو مع أوليائه. So again, referring to friendship. One of the rules of Futuwwa is friendship with Allah, or friendship with Rasulullah, or friendship with Awliyaullah, saints of Allah Ta'ala. Why he said or friendship with Allah, or with Rasulullah, or with Awliyaullah? Why he said or instead of and? Because it's the same. Either you befriend with Awliyaullah or Rasulullah or Allah, it's the same. It's the same thing, no difference. Because love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam leads you to love of Allah and love of Awliya, or the love of Awliya leads you to love of Rasulullah and love of Allah Ta'ala. So they are the same thing. So that's why he said so either establish friendship with Allah, or with Rasulullah, or with Awliya. So whichever is easier for you, whichever is convenient for you. So let's, and then he explains what's friendship with Allah, what's friendship with Rasulullah, what's friendship with the saints of Allah Ta'ala. وقال أبو عثمان الحيري من صحت صحبته مع الله لزم قراءة كتابه بالتدبر وآثر كلام الله على كل كلام واتبع آدابه وأوامره وما خوتب به. So the genuine friendship with Allah is manifested in constant reading the book of Allah and constantly deliberating about it. وآثر كلام الله على كل كلام, and giving priority to the book of Allah Ta'ala over all other books. That's manifestation of friendship with Allah Ta'ala. Because when you are friends with somebody, you always want to be together with him, right? And you give priority to him or others. So if you are friends with Allah Ta'ala, you give priority to the book of Allah Ta'ala. And actually everything else we read, everything else we study is a commentary on the Quran. Like you study psychology, it's a commentary on the psychological verses in the Quran. You study physics, again, it's a commentary of the physics in the Quran. History, again. And they all prepare you to better understand the Quran. better appreciate the beauty of the Quran. وَاتَّبَعَ آدَابَهُ وَأَوَامِرَهُ وَمَا خُوتِبَ بِهِ. And also, if one obeys the adab, the etiquette ordained by Allah Ta'ala, and obeys the commands of Allah Ta'ala, and anything else Allah Ta'ala told to do, then that means he is friend of Allah Ta'ala. He established a friendship with Allah Ta'ala. So in Turkish we have a saying that friendship is to say yes. Friendship is to say yes. But friendship has levels. You say yes to Allah Ta'ala. That's the highest friendship, right? If you say yes to Allah Ta'ala, no objections, then that means you are good friends with Allah Ta'ala. Whatever He decides about you, you say yes, no objection, then you are good friends with Allah Ta'ala. But if you object, you question, then you are not friends with Allah Ta'ala. In the Western culture, something bad happens to people, they say, why me? Like, why God gave this to me? But when they get something good, they never say, why me? They buy a nice car, they never say, why me? Why did God give me this nice car? They buy a nice house, they never say, oh, why me? Why God gave me this nice house? They get like a good marriage, they never say, why me? Why God gave me this good marriage? But when they get ill, they say, why me? Why God choose me to give this illness to me? A problem occurs, they say, why me? See what I mean? So this is questioning, objecting Allah Ta'ala. We are not like that. نحن قوم رادون. We are content people. We are content people. We are pleased with the decisions of Allah Ta'ala. We say yes to Allah Ta'ala, whatever He decides about us. And this is part of the Futuwwa, becoming friends with Allah Ta'ala. وَمَنْ سَحَتْ صُحْبَتُهُ مَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And whoever has a genuine, authentic friendship with the Messenger of Allah Ta'ala, اتَّبَعَ أَخْلَاقَهُ. He follows his akhlaq, his morality. Because the most distinct character, feature of Rasulullah is his akhlaq. So if someone is genuine in befriending Rasulullah, he follows his akhlaq. And so this is what we are trying to teach here through Futuwwa. And Futuwwa is the akhlaq of Rasulullah. So this is what we are trying to teach. And the sign of Futuwwa is that one follows akhlaq of Rasulullah wa sunanahu, and the sunnah of Rasulullah wa adabahu, and his adab, wa shama'ilahu, and his physical features. The way he made his appearance, physical appearance. So if you follow his example regarding morality, sunnah, adab, shama'il, and وَجَعَلَ السُّنَنَ أَمَامَهُ فِي مَا يَأْتِي وَيَذَرُ. And if you adopt sunnah as the ultimate criterion, when you decide what to do, what not to do, then you are a good futuwwa, good fata. Making the sunnah as the ultimate criterion about deciding what's right, what's wrong. So in your personal life, in your family life, in everything you decide. If you use sunnah as the criterion, then, mashallah, you are a fata, you are following the futuwwa, and you are friends with Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. وَمَنْ سَحَتْ صُحْبَتُهُ مَعَ أَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ. How about having a genuine friendship with awliyaullah? اتبع سيرتهم وطريقتهم وتأدب بآدابهم ولزم سننهم. So the one who has a genuine friendship with awliyaullah, he follows their example, he follows their path, and he adopts their adab, good manners, and he follows their customs, that means he has a genuine friendship with the awliyaullah ta'ala. وَمَنْ سَقَطَ عَنْ هَذَا الدَّرَجَةِ فَهُوَ مِنَ الْهَالِكِينَ. But whoever cannot do any of these, not befriending with Allah, not befriending with Rasulullah, not befriending with any of the awliyaullah, he is from the doomed ones. One should not be lesser than this. Either find one of the awliyaullah, make friendship with him, or with Rasulullah, or with Allah Ta'ala. But if you have no connection, no friendship at all these levels, you are doomed. من الفتوة مطالبة العبد نفسه بالصدق ليشغله ذلك عن الفراغ إلى أحوال الخلق أجمع. One of the rules of Futuwwa is that you question yourself whether you are sincere in your Islam or not. مطالبة النفس. يعني مطالبة النفس means questioning yourself, making yourself accountable. Okay, are you sadiq? Are you truthful, sincere in your faith, in your iman, in your Islam? Are you doing your best in practicing Islam, learning Islam, practicing Islamic morality? Okay, give me an answer. So you make yourself accountable for all these things. لِيُشْغِلَهُ ذَلِكَ, to the extent that this keeps you busy, preoccupied, so that you have no time to expose or explore other people's shortcomings. So you are so busy, you are immersed with questioning yourself, examining yourself, to the extent that there is no time to spy on other people's mistakes, to expose their mistakes. You are completely busy with your own things. So this is one of the principles of Futuwwa, questioning yourself, holding yourself accountable, and asking yourself, are you really sincere? Are you doing your best, in practicing Islam? So if you practice this, this will be really a good, motivation to improve ourselves. حكي لي عن أبي بكر الطمستاني أنه قال, so Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami narrates from Abu Bakr al-Tamastani that كل من استعمل الصدق بينه وبين الله شغله صدقه مع الله عن الفراغ إلى خلق الله. So whoever practices genuine sincerity in his relationship with Allah Ta'ala, this sincere relationship with Allah Ta'ala keeps him away from dealing with other people, from getting preoccupied with their issues. من الفتوة الثقة بضمان الله تعالى في الرزق. One of the principles of Futuwwa is trusting on the guarantee of Allah Ta'ala about livelihood, about rizq. So Allah Ta'ala says, الرزق على الله. So He says, I guarantee you your rizq. So don't worry about rizq. Don't run after rizq. But the materialist culture teaches us today that we should run always after making more money. We should always be preoccupied, like how we make our own living. So it's number one agenda, right? But this is a kind of mistrust to Allah Ta'ala, who told us that in the Quran, like your rizq is on me. I will give you your rizq. So why do you make it number one, actually the only one in your agenda? Today, like almost everybody is running after self-interest, making a living, and all other things are subdued to this agenda. سمعت أحمد بن محمد بن زكريا يقول سمعت علي بن إبراهيم يقول سمعت إبراهيم بن شيبان يقول قال سهل بن عبد الله من اهتم لرزقه بعد ضمان الله له لم يكن عند الله قدر. So whoever gets concerned about his livelihood, about his sustenance, after knowing that Allah Ta'ala guarantees our livelihood, our sustenance, he has no value in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, because he's kind of denying the guarantee Allah Ta'ala gave. He's kind of showing distrust to Allah Ta'ala's promise that he will give you rizq, right? But today, because of this capitalist, materialist culture, we are just opposite. Our number one concern, our biggest concern, is about rizq. حفظنا الله من هذا. And also, like the parents, they are concerned about the rizq of their children. The only time my father got upset with me was that, like, we had our first child. I was graduate student in America, in New York, at Columbia University. Like, we had our first child, and like first child, new father, I was like so, like irritated, alarmed, like what am I gonna do? How much it's gonna cost, etc. Then I came to Istanbul for like summer break, and my father asked me, how do you do financially? I said, Father, like we have a new baby, a lot of expenses, etc. My father's face got red. This is the only time he was upset with me in life. And he said, how do you speak like this? Do you think you are giving the rizq of the baby? He said, no. Allah gives us our rizq because of the babies we have. So because of the children, Allah gives us rizq. We are not the razak of the children. And later on, I went through a paradigm shift. I adopted the Islamic paradigm about rizq and about this capitalistic, materialistic thing. And alhamdulillah, we had no problem. Although like I was like a very humble student, we had no problem, alhamdulillah, financially. And later I saw a hadith saying that if there had not been among you babies sucking the milk of the mothers, and the old people, who cannot even stand up straight, Allah would cut your rizq right away. Because you are serving those babies, because you are serving those old people, Allah keeps giving you your rizq. Doesn't cut your rizq, although you have many sins. Subhanallah. So this is something really important for us to keep in mind. الشيطان يخوف أولياءه بالفقر. يعد الشيطان الفقر. الشيطان, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, scares his friends with poverty. All the kuffar, they have fear of poverty in their hearts. It comes from shaitan. They are so afraid. Like there are billionaire people, they say, oh, I cannot have child because I don't have enough money, how to do? And then they say, oh, what's going to happen to me? I have to, store more money. And they call it security. More security. Because shaitan put in their heart fear of poverty. So, حفظنا min al-khawf, min al-faqr. Because it comes from shaitan. Just do your work, Allah will send it to you, don't worry. Work for it. اطلب من الله تعالى. دعاء فعلي, دعاء قولي. Allah will give it, بإذن الله تعالى. Allah is the one who feeds all these birds. They have no saving account, no refrigerator. Allah feeds them. Allah feeds all the fish. They have no saving account, no refrigerator, no storage room. Do you think Allah will not feed you? ومن الفتوة موافقة الإخوان على الجملة وترك الخلاف عليهم. Again, one of the rules of Futuwwa is complying with friends in general without going against their desires. Of course, within the limits of the halal. If it's haram, you should not be making friends with such a guy anyway. But if something halal, so go go along with what your friends do and tell you. This compliance. The opposite. What's the opposite? Insisting. Okay, let's do what I want to. Let's do what I want. So this breaks up relationships. But when you say, okay, let's do what you want, this shows humility. This shows easygoingness. And this sacrifice is part of the sunnah of Rasulullah alayhi wasallam. This is muwafaqatul ikhwan. And you gain ajr from Allah Ta'ala by this, without always like disagreeing with them and insisting that your friend does what you want him to do. سمعت أبا العباس أحمد بن محمد النسوي يقول سمعت أحمد بن عطاء يقول سمعت علي بن جعفر يقول قال أحمد بن إبراهيم السوري سمعت المسيب بن واضح يقول كل أخ قلت له قم قال إلى أين فليس لك بأخ. So this is from Al-Musayyib bin Wadih. He said that any friend, when you tell him let's go, if he tells you where, he's not a good friend. He's not a true friend. So a true friend is the one, when you say let's go, he says okay, let's go. That's the true friend. But if this friend is questioning, asking questions, doubting, hesitant to comply with what you say, it's not genuine friend. As I said, friendship is to say yes. But if this question is involved, that means it's not like a perfect friendship. So this muwafaqat is very important in family life, in friendships. It's very important because if husband and wife, each one insists in executing their own view, then what's going to happen? So muwafaqat is very important for conflict resolution in the family. So each one says, okay, let's do what you want. Okay, let's do what you want. So this makes a relationship easygoing. ومن الفتوة ألا تخالف حبيبك في محبوب أو مكروه. Again, one of the rules of futuwwa is not to oppose to your friend in everything, whether you like it or dislike it. Okay, so approving and complying not in the things that you like, but sometimes there may be something you dislike, but you comply with it, okay, and you get ajr from Allah Ta'ala, because this sunnah of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, muwafaqatul ikhwan. Let's say you want to eat something and your friend wants to eat something else. Okay, eat what he wants. See what I mean? So this rule is very important in establishing permanent relationships. سمعت عبد الواحد بن بكر يقول سمعت عبد الله بن أحمد الناقد يقول سمعت أحمد بن الصلت يقول سمعت بشر بن الحارث يقول ليس من الفروة أن تحب ما يبغضه حبيبك. So this rule says that it's not a good futuwwa to love something your friend dislikes. So you like what he likes, you dislike what he dislikes. من الفتوة حفظ الأدب في الدعاء والسؤال والمناجات. One of the principles of futuwwa is practicing good manners when you make dua. Adab al-dua. So there is a adab for dua. When you make dua, you follow this adab. And like some people make dua like this. It's like, I don't care whether you accept or not. See what I mean? Like, show that you need it. Show that you really want it. Show that you are humble. Show that you are urging. You urgently need it. See what I mean? So your body language should express it. But the body language is, I don't care. Relax, drink. So it's not good آداب. Again, من الفتوة القيام بمنافع الخلق مع حفظ آداب العبودية. So one of the rules of Futuwwa is doing whatever beneficial for other people. But while doing this, حفظ آداب العبودية. You do this as ibadat, as ubudiyyat, for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. So you serve other people with the intention of ibadah. You offer them benefits, you offer them favors, but with the intention of ibadah. That means you expect the return from Allah Ta'ala, not from the other people. Okay, so that's the meaning of it. The last rule I want to read, because we are finishing الجزء الأول, we go to the جزء الثاني. من الفتوة محاسبة النفس والعلم بها والأسف على ما فاته من عمره على المخالفة. So one of the rules of Futuwwa is always reckon, question, hold yourself accountable for how you spend your life. How did you spend your life? What are the things that you have done? Why didn't you do better? Always muhasabatun nafs. Hold yourself accountable. وَالْعِلْمُ بِهَا, and be aware of it. And also show sorrow, show sadness about the opportunities you lost and about the sins you committed. So this is like self-awareness about your past mistakes and feeling sorry for them, and always checking this self-reflexivity, thinking about yourself, thinking about your life. What are the things that you have done? What's possible for you to do something better? What are your mistakes? So this is needed to improve yourself. So we stop here, inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Al-Fatiha.